Hello and welcome to Reawakening the Sacred Self, deepening our connection with our authentic soul, where we have gathered together Indigenous elders, wisdom keepers, spiritual teachers, healers, and inspirational speakers to share their wisdom and insights as to how we can integrate our spiritual practices more deeply, especially into our everyday lives, thus deepening our connection with our authentic soul. My name is Frances Billinghurst, your host for and the creatrix of this event, and I'm coming to you from Kaurna country here in South Australia. As such, I acknowledge the Kaurna people of the Adelaide Plains as being the traditional custodians of this land upon which I reside. So mani nat padne, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I'm delighted to welcome my next guest, which is Enrica Ferruzzi. Thank you, Enrica, for being part of this event.
Thank you, Francis. I'm so grateful to be here with you. Thank you.
You're more than welcome. And for anyone who's not familiar with her work, Enrica is a multifaceted author, healer, and guide dedicated to multidimensional transformation and soul remembrance. Raised in Rome and shaped by diverse cultural influences, her journey reflects profound inner inquiry and spiritual awakening. After a 20-year career in corporate hospitality, Enrica realigned her life to her soul's calling, embracing holistic living, vibrational healing, and spiritual awakening. For over a decade, she has offered transformative experiences that weave together ancient wisdom and interstellar frequencies. She's the creator of Cosmic Ocean Frequencies, which is trademarked, a synthesis of energy purification and cultivation, energetic earth resonance, and light language transmissions that guide individuals into expanded awareness and healing. Fantastic work. Her cosmic ocean activation sessions are vibrational transformations, fluid and intuitive soul journeys where movement, sound, light codes, and subtle energy convergence to attune to the light body and awaken one's natural harmonic state. Drawing on Taoist internal alchemy, hermetic awareness, crystalline solar lineages, and starseed wisdom, these sessions act as radiant bridges between the cosmos and also the embodied self. In 2025, Enrica revealed the Codex of the Sun, a living body of stellar wisdom seeded through ancient frequencies and encoded glyphs. The Codex transmutes pre-earth harmonics woven through sacred breath, sound, geometric resonance, activating remembrance and inner alignment through the solar self. Her literary contributions include Beads of Light, a story of alignment, back in 2024. And she also has a forthcoming book, The 8 Keys, opening to the mysteries of the cosmic harmony. Both explorations of spiritual alignment and humanity's place within the greater universal fabric. This is such a really in-depth topic, and I'm delighted to announce that Enrica's presentation is going to be combining hopefully all of that, and it's entitled Returning to the Sacred Self, a journey of light and remembrance, I can barely speak that word, and inner alchemy. So Enrica, it's a very huge topic that you're going to be talking about, that you're trained in, that you're experiencing through. So I'd like to start our discussion, maybe if I can, at the beginning, a little bit of your background as to how your sacred journey in all these wonderful areas came about.
Sure, thank you. Excuse me. First of all, so many words, and it sounds like, when you're um, talking about it, I'm like, oh, wow, yes, that is my journey. There's so much happening. in these last 50 today. No, not today, but this year will be 50. So I'm really excited about this phase of my life. Um, and so, yes, there's so much to say, but I can just say that the say the return to what I call the true self or the brightest aspect of who we are is of I say of course, but it may not be clear for everyone, but it's not something that happened in one event, right? It's always a series of, I see it as a spiral apparatus processes of just an evolving journey. And so it began um, as I say these words and I'm getting other messages at the same time. So I will try to decipher everything with one mouth. But I wanted to say, it began, but then I'm like, it begins way back when we are, when we come into this physical form. But as far as our conscious awareness of what's um, deciphering the language of our soul is a return, because we simply, get not confused, but congested with information. And so as we grow up, we tend to we don't get to learn these things when we're little, and so we forget, and that's the truth for everyone. My return, let's say, and it's again an evolving process. I'm always learning and growing, right? Like we all do. It's never about I got it, now what do we do? It continues. Um, let's say that, I was apparently living a very successful life in when I had a wonderful corporate job, and I was actually really happy about my role. I selected my job, and I was very successful in my growth and. Working in hospitality, if you choose, you can move to different countries and live in different places. And so that was apparently, everything was perfect, except inside this growing giant black hole was becoming bigger and bigger. And in those days, I could only describe it as restlessness. I didn't know, right? And then I became overly stressed about trying to figure out what is it, and everyone described it as you go through phases where you go seek help and you're labeled an anxious person or yeah, all these wonderful labels I don't even want to talk about. And in truth, yes, maybe, but what is underneath it all, it is something that I knew even back then when I was, let's say, not so aware, but deep inside, there's still this language of the soul that is trying, right? And sometimes, it doesn't really scream, but sometimes it's like, she's not listening. And I laugh because I'm like, oh, so clever how sometimes it's trying to communicate with us. So my restlessness turned out to be um, the doorway, the gateway to trying to understand what was happening. And through different experiences in life, I was brought into mindfulness, which was truly I think, the key for me to be able to slow down enough to start asking questions and listening, along with major life changes such as um, my closest relationship in life with my mother, my mom, who at the time, although she was American from Oregon, she was living in Italy with my family, and she became ill with cancer and then passed away in a very short time. And so this was really that experience that just pushed me to reevaluate everything. And I mean, then the process of dismantling everything started. So when, going back to when did it begin? A long time process of um, going along with what I thought was, what we're supposed to do, find this wonderful job and stick to it. And I'm sure I had experiences of growth, not so happy, but for the most part, quite successful until I tried to listen and figure out what was happening with me. Simply not okay with not sleeping anymore, just working as a first priority. And, I was what part of the conveyor belt that is, two priorities in life, work and then work. And then maybe the gym and then work. And so then that was no longer okay. So in a very short time, my life view changed, right? So from less achievement focus to softening. And here we are. I mean, like 15 years later, I was just led, not by accident, as there's no such thing, right? Coincidence, into different practices. As I learned mindfulness, then I became curious about different things, experienced different things, and as many do, maybe became involved in too many things. And then I had to narrow that down as well, right? It's like, oh my gosh, too much happening. And then, really discerning, what do I really resonate with? And then here we are, remembering that, yeah, remembering.
Mhm. No, thank you very much for sharing it. And I'm quite sure that a lot of us can definitely resonate with your own journey. And also that sort of, she said this, and I think it's more important these days too. There's so much busyness in our world and this need to soften, this need to slow down, this need to sort of come back and give ourselves a little bit more inner space so we can remember our true purpose, or what, as you mentioned, what truly resonates with us, especially when we sort of open our eyes to maybe should I say a more alternative way of living and of going about our life, as opposed to say the more sort of corporate driven one. Then there's so much to choose. And a lot
Mhm.
of us sort of dibble our toes and everything, and I know I have, and it's just coming back again to sort of soften again and remember and resonate, or find out what truly resonates with us.
Right.
Hmm. But interesting because we all have these different experiences. How did it feel to you when you sort of stepped away from sort of a successful corporate lifestyle that at one level you thought you were, very happy, very successful in, and to sort of embrace that in, and I like what you said, that inner restlessness, and actually
Uh-huh.
and how did it feel to actually start sitting down and softening into exploring what that restlessness was all about? How did it
Yeah.
feel to you?
Thank you. Yes, this is to me, it's a most beautiful journey, a part of my journey, or anyone's journey, really, because everyone's got a story that is amazing. The At that time when I was asked by a very experienced teacher, I think it's time for you to do mindfulness. And I was like, I don't understand. You want me to just sit down and be quiet? Totally foreign to me. And and you can see I'm quite a hyperactive person naturally, and I was working in operations and hospitality. So my world was always very fast. And, what do you mean to sit down and just be quiet? And then, of course, it was torture for, a little bit until this opening occurred. And, the words are words. Sometimes it's very difficult to express. But the truth is, I started to feel spaciousness. And then I had to discover, like, what is happening? And I'm a very curious person. I also like to know, the physiology or scientifically what's happening in our brain and then what is going on in the heart. I like to experience these things as well from a logical standpoint. Um, and then when I learned Qigong, that was really impactful in my life because I, mm, yeah, I resonated with movement as a meditation practice more than anything. And I had that experience as involuntary movement through just allowing my body to open up and flow and consciously, and this evolved into then eventually when I learned about light language, I realized, oh, this is a language in itself. My movement, my spontaneous movement, my body wanting to move in this and that way, uh, is a way of for her to heal and to release and to process. And so when you're asking how did it feel to go through the experience of okay, now I need to soften and slow down. I don't need to do anything. I'm sorry, wrong word, wrong expression, but I'm asked, my whole being was asking me to, it's time to slow down and soften because you're at a point of extreme distortion internally. And then I'm a Libra. I mean, I've always seeked balance in my whole life, and it was very evident now, but growing up and moving and along the different processes of what I'm supposed to do according to what society or family or culture says, I fit in really nicely. And it's so the internal processes of dismantling were magical. And this is what I was talking about earlier, because I soon realized that whatever was um, uh, mm, the sentences, I often talk to myself or I hear my aspects of myself talking to me like a real person, right? We would have conversation. I call it the department meeting. And I love this reference because in my line of work as, a department leader, we would have department meetings and with your colleagues, other departments or your own team. And so I visualize these aspects of ourselves just like we're having a department meeting. I have to sit down. What is happening? This one's frustrated. This one's always complaining about something. This part is hurt. And for just the act of w being there and listening with presence and compassion, although very difficult sometimes, it created this like no longer wearing my shoulder type of experience physically. And so then once I notice there are changes happening in my body because I am trying to listen. And I don't know what I was doing, right? Of course, you follow the guidance of a mindfulness teacher, you follow the guide, you learn. But then internally, each one of us has our own processes. We're guided by whatever is right for us in a certain moment um, to explore and uncover, look here, look there. Does it make sense? I'm saying so many things. And the it was I'm so grateful for having to I was really pushed into this experience of I think it's time to look at something in a different way, including all the things that I believed were who I was, right? So our identification processes, I mean, we know this, we read it, and it's one thing to process with our mental bodies, and another thing is to feel it with your whole being. And so then that's when I begin to um, understand what alchemy really means for me, not what, you can intellectually learn. Um, and to me, it's simply bringing light into those aspects of me, it's the most intimate part of us that are scattered all over the place, whether we left them out there on purpose or we're not even aware they exist, but to bring it all in, and be heard and be witnessed. And I mean, they're part of us. So yeah, this is to me the most important job. And so then my life changed completely because I was no longer able to sustain having to be in a box. Not that the box is wrong, don't get me wrong at all, actually. It's wonderful. If one, this is, for me, that was finished. It was like a finished chapter. Oh, now we're jumping on a new train. That was how I saw it.
Oh, wonderful. You've covered again a lot of ground there. And but yeah, I think again, a lot of us are sort of feeling that there's more to life than say what we've been told or what we've been doing. I keep coming back what you mentioned earlier, this restlessness and not understanding what it's about. You know, we're living this perfect life where we have everything that we have, yet there's still something that's not quite right. And we're sort of like beat ourselves up as to why we're not sort of 100% content or we'll put up with things. And as you said, it's getting this sort of connection back to our soul self or understanding that there's more to us than
Mhm.
what we may realize, that we are interdimensional and we're vibrational beings, and also about our energy and how we can or we tend to sort of share it around probably a little bit too much as opposed
Mhm.
to sort of fine tuning it and being a little bit more discerning to where we sort of focus or share our energy, direct our energy to. So you do
Right.
sort of take what I understand of us being energetic beings to a different level, and that's the multidimensional level, which is an area where I personally don't know a lot about. But I suppose the next thing would be how do you sort of like move your vibration or your awareness, your opening of is around us to that
Hmm.
next level? How do we level up in a world and
Right.
trust and also trust? I think this is
Trust.
a big thing today. It's like, how do we trust what our bodies are telling us?
Sure.
What's
Yeah,
coming
thank you.
through?
Yes, that's perfect. And this is very important. The There's a point where we must find the ability to quiet our minds. And I say minds plural because I mean, the body has a mind, we have a heart mind, we have our brain, which is immensely helpful, but it is a tool, not the ruler of the show. And so um, the ability to quiet, to become quiet and to pay attention, it's not something that only special people can do. Actually, it's something that's very natural. The problem is, and it is a real deep, severe, severely wrong problem, is that we are too overwhelmed by information. And I mean, to one extent, a lot of information could be also a good thing. The problem is that there's too much happening. And so when we deliberately and diligently dedicate time to ourselves to become quiet, what does that mean? It's simple. We need to carve out time for self-care practices. And I mean, you can see how passionate I am about this because in this time, especially these last, I mean, I could say 50 years, these last modern times have really confused our mm, way of being when taking care of becoming still inside is the way that we can access our multidimensional vibrational essence. In truth, what we experience, and I'm saying a number, but it's probably not accurate, like 95% of the times is a fractal of who we are. And if we can just think about, sometimes I think about the electromagnetic spectrum, how we, experience this much light out of this much range. And I see that in our energy, spiritual fields, and even in our body. We're not aware. So how do we become aware? How do we become quiet enough that we can ask our body questions and listen. And the listening, it may happen that you can hear your voice say, oh, the inflammation means this and this. Maybe you should do this instead. Something like that. It could be something as everyday life, such as what vitamin D brand should I take? This one or this one? And you're in the store and your body is incredibly intelligent and it will tell you. Then the key, like you said, is how do I trust that whatever came through my mess, my thought, my inspiration is the right one? Well, we are not going to know unless we have developed a connection with this beautiful language, which is our own, language. Our soul has a name, a soul vibration and frequency, like a signature. And so um, do we experience it with our physical ears and eyes? And maybe not. Maybe it's just a feeling. Maybe it's an image. Everyone is different. Nobody will be able to tell us what, um, like what your language is. We just need to tune to that, um, to the symbolism, to our messages, to how our soul is speaking to us through paying attention. And I know I'm saying a lot of things, but it is actually not, it sounds very difficult, but in reality, it isn't when we can engage regularly in with self-care, right? And so this means like, can we find time to be quiet and just observe what's happening. All the wonderful happenings inside of us, the quality of our thinking. And we don't have to be like, oh, I can't believe it. I'm going on and on again. We do. I do it too. But then can catch yourself and say, wow, I am kind of harsh on myself right now. Maybe I can soften a little bit and do something to help myself in this moment. I always ask people like, what can you do right now to make yourself feel better? If you
Mm.
feel uncomfortable, which is, I never like to say um wounds or trauma, or which are important words, but I like to say heaviness, because the truth is when we feel heavy in our body and we feel not as bright as we are. Mm,
Mm.
so the doorway there really is, can we find time to become quiet? The and in that, it's just like, okay, in meditation, we can find ways and ask our soul, our higher self, and all of our helpers to give us messages. Then we can practice discerning who who is talking. Is it your thinking brain? Is it your memories? Is it your soul? And then this is a practice. It is very normal and natural, but it's like it's been left dormant for ages, and then it wants to be heard. It's there helping us all the time, saying she didn't get it, okay, let's try again, and another opportunity comes through a person, through a billboard, through a song on the radio. There's always this incredible movement, giving and receiving from inside, deep inside of us and outwards and back in. And then the key, I'm always amazed even when I look around things that we put in our space. These are all things that resonate with us, and they're put in our private spaces, in our offices, in our kitchen for a reason. This is why this is here and this is there. And that is also a reflection of what is happening inside. Right? Oh my gosh, I think I have to pause. I'm sorry. Please
No,
stop
no,
me, Francis.
that's fine. I'm finding it really fascinating because, as you said, if I'm understanding you correctly, it's very much about stop looking externally for signs and reasons and answers. And it's this need to come internally and trusting our own instincts, trusting our own inner compass. And even listening to what you're speaking, I'm sort of thinking you're using a different language or description to me, but I can see the patterns. I can sort of re sort of translate it into things that resonate with me. And at the end of the day, this is what it is all about. It's finding someone might be talking a different sort of language or talking about something completely what might seem externally as a completely different thing. But when you sort of pause for a moment, and I love this word you keep saying, to soften into, and it's more about that sort of higher vibration or understanding of that, because even words, coming back to frequency, it's all energy. When we sort of like get out of our ego mind a little bit more and go, okay, when you sort of use the word like language, to me it might mean something a little bit different, but
Mm-hmm.
it's the same thing. It's the sort of like giving space to our higher consciousness, our guides, to another dimension, whatever resonates with us. It's
Right.
almost, I wouldn't say identical, but it's a very similar perception or essence in being quiet and listening, being still and
Still,
trusting
right.
what come through. Yeah.
Well, what happens is can once we experience touching that vastness of our essence through whatever experience, we can experience this in dream time. We can experience it during a wonderful conversation with someone, during a crisis moment where you simply, you know, finally open up and break and then see what's underneath. When we touch that, that is what we need to remember and not here, I say, right? Here. Because the heart mind is the yeah, the true compass. And then so it becomes and then it's here in the body. That's what I mean too. Is a lot of times, we have spiritual experiences. Maybe we go to this magical retreat and it's amazing. Then we come home and we have like, oh no, I have to go back to my, and it's oh no, right? Instead of like, all right, now how do I, this is all homework.
Mm.
My life is all homework. How do I um become a little bit more aligned into what is more true to me. And so it's a when I talk about alignment too, it's always a recalibration. Like even physically, like I see alignment like presence, like a sense perception. So when you're in any circumstance with people, situation, being in a hospital, for example, recently was my experience. That's what, not me, but being with someone in the hospital is like, oh my gosh, so dense, right? And everybody's suffering and you're uncomfortable. And in the moment, I feel so uncomfortable. What can I do? And then you ask, what is it that I can do to not be so affected because I feel so heavy, I can't breathe, or something. And then your mind will tell you. Your mind meaning the heart mind will tell you. But we need to be able to touch that first to resonate, to recognize, okay, that is my true voice versus all this other noise. And the noise is important to listen to it because we have to discern the difference. So earlier when I talked about the department meetings, I love how my guides showed me this a long time ago in dreams. And I work a lot with my dreams. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing how I can see all parts of myself in a boardroom. And some are extremely obnoxious, and others are like, no, but everything will be fine, the optimists. And then I sit down, of course, in my chair, which you can't see over here in my morning time for meditation with my tea, and I listen. I'm like, what is going on? People, and then this is connect. It could be 10 minutes a day, it could be whatever. But once it's like there's this connection. Um, it is effortless. Like, oh my gosh, I feel so out of balance right now. What can I do? And then in that moment, there's this I recognize, and I'm not special. If we are all able to do this, we just need to find space where we
Mm.
can recognize, oh, this is my beautiful language, and it's just this much of who I am. But I am so grateful that I have this ability and possibility to feel the shift in vibration, because it is, like you said, vibration. It's a vibrational world. So the listening, um, which, I do this, but may not be with our ears, but, our spiritual ears or eyes or feeling. The listening becomes the medicine, internal alchemy, where density or anything that is discomfort, heaviness, pain, becomes lit up. And with light, that's when it softens. You can disassemble it and see, I see, I don't need this anymore. I got it. And
Mm.
then maybe I can work with this. Maybe now I can really see what is happening, right? And all the messages. I mean, it is, I know I'm saying a lot of things again, but it is a beautiful conversation that we can feel comfortable in having. I recently had this really dear friend tell me, there's no way in the world that I can sit down and listen to my mind. I'm like really scared about what's happening in there. And um, it happens to a lot of people where they have this fear of like, oh no, I can't, I have to do something to make sure that I'm not paying attention. Instead, I feel like my whole world revolves around supporting people and connecting to that part, because actually that's what remembering is about, is that part of us who wants to say all kinds of things to us to help us be more comfortable in life, in this life.
Mm. 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 Yes, you did, and I really resonate that sort of like inner fear as to, oh, what would I discover if I actually stop? And when you were talking, what sort of came into my mind was when we go within, we discover this is just the images. It's like I went within and there was like the universe. And then I realized going, what that sort of meant was a realization that this physical being, which is important, this is why we're incarnated in this sort of the here and now into this physical world, is important. But when we stop, we go within, we touch onto that soul essence that is in the universe. So it's like tapping into the sort of cosmic ocean within our own selves, and then
Mhm.
realizing that the physical self can actually fade away, for want of a better word, when we're looking at it from a more soul energetic perspective. I don't even know if that makes any sense, but it's just like all these
Yeah,
visions happening in my
absolutely.
head.
Yeah. To me, it does absolutely. And um, yeah, we hear these words all the time, like I don't know if we hear them all the time, but I say it all the time that we're a fractal of the cosmic mind. I like to call, everything the all, the cosmic mind or infinite intelligence, and we're a spark of that. And so even in moments where um we experience, even when I didn't have this language or now that I have all kinds of tools, and obviously it always grows, I always learn more, but all these tools to help me calm my nervous system, help me, through processes and changes in life. But even before, when I wasn't really, it wasn't part of my life, I always had this feeling of, there's got to be something else in life. Yeah, why is it only this formula of you grow up, you work for 45 years, whatever, and then you retire. And then maybe you can have fun. I don't understand, like right. And then when I learned all these other, especially, energy, um, sciences, vibrational sciences, I went through a phase of being quite upset, actually, because I felt like, oh, I could have helped my mom, and I could have helped myself with, going through massive changes in life. And then on the other hand, I I also felt this undeniable knowing that, but there are no mistakes, and everything is actually supposed to be the journey of everyone is perfect for them, good, bad, and ugly. And it's all just perfect for multiple reasons. So why not, become a little bit more comfortable in what is happening? Because so when you experience, like when you say, I, if you can think of your inner world, which is actually all out here as well, as far as like a sphere, this magical universal, brilliance, and that true self, our sacred self knows everything. Really, we're the ones that are, are a little confused sometimes and are like climbing, I think in like three languages with nails along, a wall, and it's painful probably. I've experienced where I feel like my soul is saying, wow, so much suffering. Why? Yeah, I mean, here, like we are helping you. It's all good. Nothing's really a big deal. Even severely big deal things, I feel that sometimes, like I have to catch myself. And certainly I go through days even or times where I'm hurt and I go through, moments of why did this happen? Well, this is kind of hideous, and maybe I need to understand. And I like to understand things, but not in a critical mind, overthinking. Um, we must also recognize that difference between overthinking, overanalyzing because of all the information that I have in my beautiful brain versus, oh, let's really see what this really means underneath this
Mm,
apparent situation that occurred. What is that really? Because, yeah, it's really like all the way down here message that is reoccurring.
mm,
Yes. So vibrational transmutation is um, available to us all the time when we can be aware of it, which only happens when we can make that space for awareness, for the qualities, certain qualities of awareness to emerge. So then we can recognize, oh, I got it. I'm like, oh, interesting. I never saw it this way. And then be curious about the wonderful processes of learning and growing.
mm, mm. And I think this is also a nice little segue into your own work, more sort of like more particular with the as you said, your business ocean, so cosmic ocean frequencies and your books and the codex of the sun all has emerged out of your own sort of journey and sort of opening up that inner space to receive these downloads or transmissions and coming back into more alignment with your own self. And this is something that you share, and as you mentioned, you assist other people. So, how in particular can the cosmic ocean frequencies, and especially the codex of the sun, support other people, especially as we're going through this time of remembering who we are? And I said, there's a lot of stuff out there. Some of it is, I don't want to be too negative, but some of it's not quite in true alignment. But how can we sort of really work with, especially with your own journey, the work that you've done, how can that support other people in remembering
Mhm.
who they truly are?
Thank you. Yes, these bodies of work, well, let's say cosmic ocean frequencies mm, was revealed to me through my own process. So it is really mm, growing, learning, and remembering. So it's not necessarily a modality, more like a frequency of attunement, alignment, I can say, with the rhythm of the cosmic mind. And so what does that mean to us? This is a field of light codes, of transmissions, of wisdom from star lineages that are linked to me, that I'm linked to them. And when I meet with people in sessions, I like to call the sessions or explain the session such as soul mirrors, where it's a vibrational experience where others can attune. So really it's like a tuning fork, right? So we are coming to that alignment with our soul frequency and our inner guidance system, which can be guides, angels, whatever your guidance system is and what you want to call it. It doesn't matter, your guidance system, and then our truth and our empowerment. How does it support people is because the work is a frequency container, it is more like yeah, a recalibration. And so the main part of the work revolves around light language transmissions, as you said, channeled intuitive messages, and sound healing, which comes through intuitively, fluidly, and it supports us along with, this is a co-creation with the soul's intelligence. It supports us in coming back to that connection with our spirit, our soul, and the mind of the body. So when we are disconnected by either one or the three, or all of it, it's difficult for the messages to trickle in. It's difficult to trust that voice. It becomes a little bit more challenging to be able to sustain it in our body. And so the work is, which is my journey, is about how do I hold it in my body? How do I keep that connection continuous throughout the day, every day? And I'm just holding space. So my role is the holding space in that um, container where we can together, because I'm just a transfer device, support the individual or group, or the beings that are also participating in helping us just find that tuning, that recalibration, where we deepen this connection and then we go deeper and deeper and deeper. So my work evolved into the books, like you mentioned, Beads of Light, which is my story of alignment, or part of my story. And then the Eight Keys, which is in production. And then I'm excited about the Codex of the Sun, which is something recently released. And it came through in this really beautiful way for me, like as a vibrational shift, most certainly. And it is held within 17 chambers. And the transmissions are both spoken activation and then light language transmission. And for those who are not familiar with light language, it is what I call the soul technology. It is it is expressed through me, through movement and spoken words, healing words of light, sounds and tones that may sound completely uncomfortable and weird to some, but it's not language that linear communication systems can understand. It is not something for our processing system in the brain to absorb. It is something, it's a frequency that speaks directly to the soul, and the multiple aspects of who we are that live in, yeah, and connected to the cosmic mind. And so that's why it's so profound working with light language. And of course, people will resonate with different frequencies. So, is it for everyone? Yes, in my opinion, but not everyone will resonate with the frequencies that one or other teachers or channels will um, transmit for a reason, because we have every one of us vibrates, has this signature frequency, just like when we resonate with certain people, we have that resonance. But resonance is in resonance, in presence, and resonance is when healing and transformation occur. And so this is the support piece, especially during these massive changes that are happening for the earth and humanity, um, comes through taking care of our vibrational attunement to the cosmic mind.
Mm. And it's a nice sort of segue into the gifts that you're offering everybody in our audience is a sort of an exploration or a little bit of a taste of all that, because Temple of the Sun is an audio transmission, as you said, from the Codex of the Sun. And you also are sharing with our audience the first few chapters of your first book, which was Beads of Light, a story of alignment, which is very generous of you and very wonderful. We are unfortunately running out of time, and I just would like to sort of ask you, do you have any sort of events or things coming up in the next couple of months or even early next year that for if there's anybody in our audience would like to learn a little more about them, you want to sort of share with us, or should
Oh,
they just
thank
look on
you.
your website as well?
Sure. Yes, please. Yeah, of course. You can navigate the website. The newsletter, so many things. My sharing space, I call it my sharing space, where I share monthly messages that came through Dreamtime, and so I like to share those as well. But I have a virtual retreat coming up in November. That's really exciting, and of course, stay tuned for the release of my second book, The Eight Keys, which is very beautiful. Of course, it's beautiful when I say it's beautiful because it's my other baby, but it's like very magical to me.
Mm.
And so I'm excited to share with everyone.
Yeah, oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for that. And of course, the link to your website will be below this recording. So thank you very much, Enrica, for all the wisdom that you've shared with us today. It's been absolutely inspiring to have you here. And just before we go, I was just wondering, do you have maybe a little message for our audience, especially as you said, we're going through this times of much change and very challenging for a lot of us. Is there a little snippet of sort of hope or guidance that you can offer us?
Thank you. Yes. I would say if we can take time to cultivate self-acceptance in whatever form that means for you, that would be incredibly opening for the heart. And also, it does magical things for our nervous system and our brain waves. But self-acceptance and to find that space where you can observe your own life journey in awe and just watch as an observer, as if you can visualize your soul as this beautiful being holding you and watching you in your life. And so try to embody your soul in that way, like to think about what would my soul, the best part of me that is brightest and knows everything, see me now? And it will never ever say, come on, what is going on? Just be like very negative. It will always, always be like, oh my gosh, you're so amazing. And so yeah, I encourage people to connect with that feeling, self-acceptance, and then see yourself through how your soul sees you.
Mm.
This is very powerful and very simple. We can do that when you're standing at the post office, at the grocery store. Yeah, when there's difficult times, especially, we can do it.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you for that little sort of reminder, little tidbit of wisdom. and all the other wisdom that you've shared with us. Again, Enrica, it's been, as I said, an absolute delight having you here as part of this conference.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure, truthfully.
Wonderful. And if you want to learn more about Enrica's work, please scroll below this recording where there will be the link to her website. And don't forget to sign up for our newsletter, especially if you want to know all about the 8 keys when this will be released later. And to everyone who is watching, I'd like to say, Natalia, thank you. I hope you have enjoyed this extremely inspiring conversation with Enrica as much as I have. And I can't wait to see you again soon. Blessings.
Thank you.